Ladies and gentlemen, in the status quo, poor students that came from poverty are constantly marginalized, condemned, and hindered to gain education at their fullest extent. It is the fault of the system who fails these students and therefore prohibit them from having the access for education. Moreover, that the use of scholarships, which is to motivate poor people, have not worked. We see how scholarships are ended up handed to the smart students who may have not needed or privileged enough, which proves to you that scholarships need to be handed directly to those who are in need. This debate are not about motivating people versus the quality of education. It is about vulnerable people versus the inclusivity of education we are so proud to propose. So, three prongs of setup that I'm setting in this debate. But firstly, what do we mean by scholarship, right? So it looks like agency that are given to students to pay off their loans in the institution that they study on. Three prongs of startup then. First, we are going to distribute scholarships to students who are in need and its brink of financial need, based on how their family income is. For illustration, more money on a scholarship are going to be given to students who are at poverty the most, and less money on a scholarship are going to be given to students who are at least below the lowest. We are going to base it on the family income. Secondly, though, the scholarships are going to be given while the students are in that particular institution and studying there. So it is going to be given by the institution. How big the scholarship are will be customized by them and based on the student's family income. Thirdly, this debate do not only happen in Indonesia context only. We need to put on context in country where education still marginalized poor students. So opposition cannot say that there are public schools or KJP because many countries may not have the kind of facility like that yet. Ultimately, two goals in this debate. Firstly, we want to ensure that every kind of students, regardless of their background, are granted the access of education. Secondly, we want to maximize the use of education by opening up the barriers between financial and education, therefore upgrading the quality of education. The comparative here said opposition needs to defend a world where it is going to continuously discriminate and condemn poor students. That poverty will become the barriers that hindered these students, making education as an exclusive platform only to privileged students that are quote-unquote smart based on their metric. Our side will win more people. So, two content that I'm bringing on this debate. Firstly, on the principle level, why is it principally justified for this proposal to happen? Secondly, on the effectivity, how our side will address the problem in status quo. On the principle first, three analysis here. First, on why is it within the responsibility of educational institution. Let's characterize first, right? What is education? Within education is a platform for students to absorb knowledge and information for their future career and basic cognitive skills. Moreover, that educational institutions are the medium that is used to transfer this knowledge to students. Why is it important then? Two things. Firstly, education should be universal. The agency of education should not be expected on how big their achievement will be or how smart students will be. It is an obligation for education to be universal and accessible towards everyone in the country, regardless of their background. The parallel example of this is that government still give incentivizing towards poor people, even though they are not beneficial, but they still give it because it is their people. Secondly, additional benefits like exposure and good name. Implementing this can bring educational institutions a good image that they are a government body that actually cares for the most vulnerable and disconnected to public trust. Secondly, how the status quo have fails to bring accessibility. Understand, what poor students want is not the reason for them to be motivated. It is that they want to be given a chance to access education equally. More importantly, note that scholarship has become highly inaccessible and hard to get because of few aspects. Two analyses here. First, on general students, right? Understand that there are reasons behind rich or general student being smart or excel is because their starting point it is way more ahead than the poor ones in terms of having a good environment, have more times to study because there are lesser priority in life that privileged students need to care, additional tutors like private class that are highly inaccessible to the poor. All of this tells you that there are highly arbitrary barriers amongst the privileged and the poor. Secondly, poor students. Opposition may have the logic that the chance for students to be smart is not only exclusive to the rich, poor people can also be smart. We concede, but cases like that is inherently arbitrary and it's probably 1 in 1,000. It is highly rare because you need to realize that we're talking about kids who lives under the bridge or needing to take care of their parents. That is to say, they do not have the free time to actually study amongst to compete against smart students that have high cognitive skills. There are priorities in life that they need to cater to, like what to eat and what they live in, and this is the result of the system that have been inherently marginalizing them. But even if opposition talks about public free school, we think that it is lucky that we have it in Indonesia, but other countries do not have it. They still need to pay off loans and debts and etc. Third layer, and lastly, why our side is better at holding the value of education. We understand that education is meant for you to build the future of your career using the knowledge that you have gained from it. But it is better on our side of the house based on two analyses here. First, on smart students, right? Understand that smart students will still be motivated under our side, because the reason why these students are excellent is not only based on scholarship, things like ranking in class, going to competition, and have a better career. These are the motivations that are still going to exist under our side, and we're still going to give the appreciation and the praises that they deserve. Therefore, these people will not suddenly lose motivation. Secondly, poor students. Understand that the numbers of poor students exist way much more, and they are vulnerable enough because love of agency are ended up going to the hands of smart students, or that they are hindered because of many aspects. More importantly, and this is crucial, poor students are usually came off with the dream of upgrading their life and became excellent when given the chance to do so. Under our side, the moment this proposal passed, poor students are given a chance to excel and thrive in the same field as others, which means that education can cater to a lot of students, making it as a platform that is not exclusive to a few groups, but universal, which proves to you that poor students, which exist way more, will be motivated much more because they are grateful enough and willing to upgrade their life through education, which means that the quality of education will be now diverse to lots of types of students, and it's a unique benefit that we get. Second argument then, on effectivity, how are to address the problem in status quo. Understand why scholarship is highly ineffective is three reasons. A, there is an inherent system for poor people that makes it so hard for them to break through, which leads to country economy where there are lots of people that are jobless because they do not have the academic background that they need, which is highly discouraging for poor students who do not have the starting point that other privileged students have. Secondly, that is very harmful for poor students that need to compete, and in order to be on the same field, the other poor students cannot still access education because they are not smart enough. Understand that they are not smart enough because they are hindered to access it. Thirdly, poor students not going to school is highly detrimental because this leads to things like child prostitution or doing the jobs that adults should do, or even stealing, shoplifting that leads to criminal rates because of the economic burden that these students have. On the second layer, how does our model will manifest in status quo? A, more people having access to education means that there are lesser poverty and lesser jobless people. There are a big chance that under our side, the quality of human resources in the country will be more up high, and therefore it's good for the country and their life. B, when having more students to access education, it means that there will be more students participate, right? And in the competition in the class to strive to be better means that their quality of education will increase because there are more students participating on it. C, there are going to be lesser chance that poor students ended up becoming state gangs or criminals when given the chance to access education. Our side can increase the chance for kids having a better future in life and therefore having good resources. Even in the worst case that the poor student will still lose after the privileged one, we gain the systemic chance that poor student can still participate and gain the access for inclusivity and responsibility for education for proposition.